Hello, happy Friday. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time where we can relax and craft for about an hour together. And we work on projects from beginning to end. So you can get the whole sense of the whole entire project. So we are continuing on the Splendid Sampler to quilt along tonight. We got the second block yesterday, and we got a good halfway done on it. So here is the block. It's Milk and Cookies by Rebecca Bryan, and we are gonna do this circle tonight. This decorative like two-color circle. Last night we finished. We got our little background piece done, and then I got my circle for the middle done, and I showed you that kind of interesting way that we're going to be doing needle turn applique. I used some lightweight interfacing with glue dots on it to make the circle. So we're going to have a perfect needle turn circle on here, where we've kind of pre-needle turned it. So I will show you that process again tonight. Hopefully, I think we'll get that far. I'm going to do the same process for that circle with all the little colors. This middle circle here. So that's the plan for tonight. We're going to get working on that. So thanks for joining me. The Splendid Sampler, the first 20 blocks are free, so you can get the first two right now on thesplendidsampler.com, so you can go check that out if you like. And thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Let's get going. I want to see how much we can get done of this tonight. So, all right, flipping you around, we'll get started. All right, thanks for coming in again, guys. So let's get going right away here. We have this little dude from yesterday. He's done. And a little circle. And here is that lightweight fusible interfacing. We've just sewn in a circle and turned it right side out, right through the interfacing, and now the glue dots are on the outside. So we will just fuse that down, and then we'll stitch around it. So, but we won't have to tuck under the edge every single time that we tuck the seam allowance every time we stitch. It's all pre-tucked. So anyway, let's get going on the next part. So I'm going to throw those to the side. We are going to sew these wedges. So here's the wedge template. I think I'm going to just cut that out, and we'll trace it. We'll just run along the edge of it with the pencil on the fabric. So you can do that in a couple different ways. You could use freezer paper to you could trace this to freezer paper and then fuse the freezer paper to your fabric and then cut around that. But I think I'm just going to draw right on here with the pencil. I think that'll just work perfectly fine. I'm actually using the Terry Atkinson's suggestion from her blog. She does a tip, or her tips for every Splendid Sampler block. I put a link to that here as well. I am going to just place these all next to each other and then trim them all at the same time. All right, so here we go. Oh, Diane, you weren't going to do the Splendid Sampler again, but now you're here. I know, it's just, it seems like such a big undertaking, right? It's 100 blocks and they're all completely different and they're all pretty intricate, or many of them are. But it ends up being just so fun. All right, you know what? I'm going to give this a little press quick. Just so we got a nice flat surface to start out on. So I think we need, let's see. Yep, we need 6 each of our two colors. So let me get the other fabric. We'll do this little area here that we cut on already. Get that nice and flat, or flat enough, doesn't matter so much. Okay, so I'm going to take Terry's tips, and what she did is she, instead of going right side, or just like straight up and down along with the weave of the fabric, so fabric is woven, vertically and horizontally, she did it on like diagonal like this so that it stretches easily when we sew. Or just, you know, because we're doing a curve, so a curve isn't perfectly up and down, so this is going to kind of mitigate that, I think. So I think I'm going to just do it how she did it. So 1, and then 2, 3, 4. We'll see if we can fit 6 here. You know what, I don't know. Maybe I do want to do it like this, because then I can keep... I think I can keep the edges the same. So you know what? I'm just going to go like this. Oh, you've seen so many cute blocks so far. Oh yes, the Halloween blocks. I think there's a couple people doing Halloween blocks, and they are just totally adorable. You're totally right. So I'm just going to trace around the outside of these. If you're worried about damaging your template by tracing it a bunch of times, then you can always trace it onto a piece of plastic, or trace a couple of them on the freezer paper. Yeah, I know I'm not going to be on the bias anymore, but I don't know. I think I'd rather cut the same lines, just cut it once, just because I'm going for speed a little bit here. So I don't know. Hopefully it's not too bad. Oh, it is still on the bias, really. Just, yeah, because it's diagonal. You're right. I'm kind of angling up a little bit, but that's okay. The less lines I have to draw, the better, I think. I only have a little piece of this dotted fabric, so we're using it up right away. All right, this will be 4. I'm trying to get right at that edge, but I'll err on the side of cutting just inside my pencil lines, I think. It's not going to matter so much, I don't think. But you do want to be as accurate as you can on this, I think. Oh, I can only fit 5 this way, so we'll have to throw in 1 more. I need 6 total. Okay, let's throw another one up here. And then I need 6 of that other fabric as well. So you know what, I think I'm going to trace those right away since I'm in trace mode here. And then we'll do some trimming. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. All right, let's do them over here. This might not be big enough for 6 either, but that's okay. We'll do the same thing we did here. I suppose it doesn't matter. Okay, let's trace these. So this is a little worn out already because I've traced those other 6, but we'll be okay. Hello, thanks for joining me again, everyone. Let me know how your Splendid Sampler blocks are going so far. Oh, you appliqued your ring and now it isn't 6.5. Should I put sashing? You know, that's not a bad idea. So Patricia, I think that's what a few people did last Splendid Sampler. Sometimes, every once in a while, a block would just, you know, end up being a little too small, and I think a lot of people just put a little sashing on. So you're definitely most likely going to want all your blocks to be the same size when you're done, so the sashing is a good idea. I would say yeah to the itty bitty sashing, unless you want to do the whole deal again. Little border would be cute though, little sashing border. I think I might have had to do that for one of mine too, last time around. Oh, you're redoing this one? Oh, because your plate was too large. Oh, you got it right this time. Okay. Oh, you had the wedges just a little too big. Sometimes it's fun to have something go awry, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is the block that, you know, got a little goofy. But yeah, it's for learning's sake. Well, either way, for learning's sake, it's good to acknowledge like what went wrong, and you know, if you know how to fix it, then you can go ahead and fix it. Otherwise, just keep in mind for a future one, because a lot of these skills that we're doing in these we'll be using again and again, especially with like applique. There's so many different ways to do applique. We're going to try a whole pile of them again. So if you don't like one way, but you end up liking another way, then that's great. All right, I'm going to have to get another one in here again, like the other side, or like the other fabric. Because this isn't quite wide enough for 6. Get one more here. And then we are done with this template. Cutting always takes more time than it does in my head, so I'm hoping we still get pretty far on the sewing of this tonight, though. We will see. All right, 6. All right, we got that. You know what? I'm gonna just kind of roughly cut this out. Actually, you know, the way that I connected these is like a nice soft curve. I think I'm gonna actually just cut right on that curve already. Let's make sure everything else is out of my way. Yeah, okay. So I'm being really careful on this. I'm going right inside that pencil line. This kind of works. Just little soft arches. I have a really nice dressmaker scissors that I'm using here. So it cuts just really, really smooth. So if you have a good scissors, good fabric scissors, now is the time to use it for these little slow movements. All right. You know, I don't know what the measurements of the wedge template are. If you just make sure when you're printing, they are small, first of all. They are very small. Everything ends up being a little smaller than you expect for the Splendid Sampler. But I don't think this had like a 1-inch mark. Sometimes when you print patterns, they have like a little 1-inch mark on it, and it says like, if this is 1 inch, then you're printing it the correct size. I don't think this had one on, but just when you print it, make sure that you're printing at 100%. But they are small, so if you're thinking it's small, it probably is. All the pieces end up being super small for the Splendid Sampler. Okay, so then I'm going to just take the rest of this, and I know we have one more to cut out yet, but since we have this just ready, I think I'm going to trim that. Let's find my little ruler. So I'm just going to cut all these little straight bits. So this is how Terry Atkinson did it on her blog. Oh, you're going to just try and sew a block without using the seam ripper. Seam ripper is a good learning tool, Robin. But I hear ya. And sometimes these pieces are so small that, you know, you almost have to just cut a new piece sometimes. Okay, here's 5 of them. One more little cut here. All right, then we'll do, I'm gonna try being really delicate at this point too. So I'm not like whipping these around or stretching them. I'm just kind of gently laying them. All right, so let's just trim this quick too. Oh, that's why you love paper piecing. Oh, I bet you anything we'll be doing some paper piecing. I bet you we'll be doing both foundation paper piecing and English paper piecing. So that's going to be super fun. Okay, we are done with that fabric. Let's cut the bottom, and then we will cut these straight edges. And then we'll just do the same for the other fabric, and we'll be ready to sew. I want to get sewing as fast as possible, always, right? The fun part. Although, if you get in the groove of one of these other steps, that's fun too. But man, I want to get sewing. Okay, so let's do the same thing. We'll cut that squiggle line. I think that worked pretty well with the other fabrics. Just going slowly. You know, actually, we won't see the inner edge, so the small points, we're never going to see those because our other circle is going to be on top of them. And we're actually not going to see the edge I'm cutting now either, because we're going to be turning it under for the needle turn applique. So really, I don't know why I'm all that accurate. Oh, I know why. Where the accuracy is going to come in is on these straight lines, because we need to have a good 1/4 inch seam allowance, so this ends up as a nice circle. So our circle doesn't get all, I don't know, disfigured. All right, done with that fabric. Officially done with the bulk fabric. All right, let's do, oh, nope, I gotta trim the other side of this yet. Thought I was on the straight line stuff, but not quite. We're getting there. So next up, after we have these pieces, we're going to be sewing a piece from one fabric to a piece of the other fabric. So it'll just be pairs, the pairs of fabric. And then once we have those pairs sewn, we'll sew the pairs together, and then those pairs together, and then we'll have half of a circle. And then we sew the two halves together. There might be some pressing in the middle there too, I can't remember, so we'll have to check. We cut yours last night but haven't sewn. Ooh, had an idea for your cookie. Oh, you'll have to share when you're done, Nolene. I know someone did like a little plate, and they, instead of just having one circle in the middle, they had 3 circles, and it looked like a plate of cookies, and then they stitched little, I think it was applique, they made little teeny appliques of milk around the plate. So it was like milk and cookies. I thought that was pretty cute. How are you making these blocks when the book is on pre-order? Oh, okay, Heather. So the book is, the Splendid Sampler 2 book is on pre-order right now, but they're starting the quilt along early. They are giving away, Pat Sloan and Jane David said they're giving away 20 of the blocks for free. So this is the block 2. So last week on Thursday, we got block 1. A new block is released every Thursday, and it's on thesplendidsampler.com. So the first post on there should be this block. And you do there's a lot of text and a lot of images and kind of like a lot of ads, so you do have to scroll down a little bit to get to where in bigger letters it says download the, whatever this, the Milk and Cookies block by Rebecca Bryan. It'll say something like that. So that's the download. So the first 20 are free, and they'll be available one a week starting last week. And after those 20 are done, then the book should arrive. So, you know, you kind of get to test out if you want to do the rest of these. I'm going to be doing all of it. So I have pre-ordered my book. I put a link here for that, but that'll be on the splendidsampler.com too. It's on pre-order on Amazon right now. And I think it comes November-ish. So I think that's when we'll get these 20 done. But yes, first 20 are available now. All right, so I'm going to just pair these up. We're just going to put right sides together right away. And I'm going to sew on the same edge of all of them. We're going to chain piece these together. So I'm putting them all in the same direction so I can just grab them. Oh, October the book comes? Okay, so October is when the book should come. But we have the first 20 blocks for free, so you get to test out if you want to do it or not, and you get to get going on it before the book comes. Okay, let's sew. So I'm going to sew along one edge of all of these. Then we will open up. Let's see. Do we press them right away? Let's see. Use the seam lines to center a ring around. Okay, sew the wedges together in a ring, join pairs to make a ring. I think we just kind of sew it all and then we press it. It doesn't seem to really say. So let me know what you guys ended up doing for pressing. I think for right now, I think I'll just do more sewing and less pressing. If that's like my route always, if I can manage that. I do not like pressing all that well. Oh, I gotta take a shoe off. There we go. Can't sew with that shoe on. All right, my thread's in a funny spot right here. Hold on. Get that under the presser foot. Okay, we're ready to go now. So you pressed as you went, Lucy? Maybe that's a good idea. It looks like it wants us to press them open, which is fine. Oop, geez. Everything's feeling funny. Here we go. Let's get this guy going first. So I'm trying to be really accurate with my 1/4 inch seam allowance. I still feel, even from doing all of the first Splendid Sampler, I still feel not 100% confident with my scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're gonna do our best. You love pressing and ironing. Man, what it is for me, why I'm not like the hugest fan of the pressing and ironing is because it's always a surprise to me. I don't know why. It's like, oh yeah, pressing takes a long time and I should just enjoy it as its own thing. But in my head, it's one of those steps that isn't really a step. You just do it and it's done. But that's not the case. You know, I do like to iron a whole lot more now that I have that cordless iron, though. I do have to say that. I don't have that cord getting in my way ever. Ugh, that is a treat. Okay, you know what? I think I will press them open, or press them as I go, like you guys said. Let's get my other leader in here. Let's trim these guys. Too many squiggles coming off of this guy. All right. We'll press them as we go, I guess. So look at our cute little chain pieced bit here. I'm just going to trim all those and we'll press them open. We'll press as we go. It will be easier, I think, if we press as we go. I just like being able to press all at once, but I think since we need accuracy and everything with this circle, I think it's probably a better idea that I do press as I go. You guys are always right. All right, so let's, I have them all stacked in the same direction. I do like that because then I can just do the same movements. So I'm just gonna give it a little press on top. So I'm gonna try not to stretch this very much as I go because it is on the bias. We're not cutting perfectly on the straight line of the fabric, the weave, the vertical and horizontal weave, which means it's stretchier in general. So we need to be careful of that and not just stretch all over the place. Come on, open up. I always like pressing to one side first and then pressing it open. Oh, Gina, I love you using steam too. I actually haven't tested the steam on this iron yet. I haven't used steam in a while. Actually, I used steam. No, I didn't use steam. I used starch quite a bit on the first Splendid Sampler, but look how cute. But the starch turned my ironing board totally brown. So now I kind of am meh on that. I want to see how far I can get without using the starch or steam. And I don't really want to use steam for shapes like this, because again, with the steam, that might encourage the stretching of the fabric, and I want to try and keep these as non-stretchy as I can. All right, we should have, what, 8 of these? No, 6. We have 6 pairs. Good, even better. Cute. So I did mine pretty close in color, but oh, it's gonna look like a little sunshiny flower, I think. I'm stoked. Okay, I gotta put this here just to see. Oh, it's sweet. My little blonde quilt. I'm excited about this because I'm doing that, all these very light colored, almost light color yellows, you know what I mean? And it's just not a normal color palette for me, so that's kind of one of the fun things for me with the Splendid Sampler too. I'm totally out of my comfort zone for fabrics. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for me, but also just fun. Room for discoveries, that's what it's going to be like. And all my quilts have been so super bright and saturated colors. I've been calling them juicy colors, that it's kind of fun to do just like a light neutral quilt. My intention was just to have it be neutrals, but I'm pulling from my stash, and all my neutrals happen to be kind of yellowish. There's a few tan ones in. We'll have to make sure we get a good tan block with one of these blocks, but in general it's kind of yellowish. But I like it. I like it. It's the blonde quilt. All right, just 2 more, and then we can sew these up. We will press them again after the next round. So 3 seams that time only, and then we will sew them all together in a circle. And then I will show you that we'll do that same process that we did with this circle last night to pre-turn the needle turn applique bits. I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to work great, actually. The only problem I can see is that my fusible interface is so old that it barely sticks. But that's fine. I just need it to temporarily hold these fabrics in place. And I actually might use a little glue as well. And if you guys are thinking that it's going to get super bulky with that extra interfacing and all these layers of fabric, I think once we're done needle turn appliquing, I think we will actually cut out some of the fabric so it's back to like a single layer of fabric. So I'll show you kind of what I'm thinking for that, just in case you're wondering about, you know, these blocks getting bulkier and bulkier with these layers of applique. we are going to trim away all that hidden fabric, I think. Okay, we are pressed. Let's get these sewn together again. So, all right, let's head back over here. So I'm going to put my pairs of pears together. Oh, the broadcast is getting interrupted. So I'm not having any errors on my side this time. So I'm not sure what's happening, but the YouTube version of this should be okay. So if you're having trouble now, it should be better on the YouTube replay. But hopefully it works itself out. Yeah, the lightweight interfacing shouldn't add much thickness, but we do have the thickness of a couple layers of applique. All right, we're just chain piecing these guys together too. Slipping around. Kitty scratched a little bit into place. I think we're good. One more. So we'll press those 3 seams open. That won't take long. And yeah, then I think we're sewing the circle together. Fun. This is fun. I don't ever do such intricate things like this. So when I have, or like, you know, angles and curves and all that. So when I have the opportunity, like in this Splendid Sampler, it's kind of a treat. And what's so nice is that for the Splendid Sampler, first of all, they're small pieces, so I'm not committing to like a huge giant block. And second of all, it's not like a quilt where you have to make 12 of the same thing. So so if I don't like a process or whatever of a certain block, that's okay, because that's the only time I'll be doing it is for that one block. I don't have a whole quilt worth of blocks. Look how cute. Okay. I'm just trying to keep all these open at the same time. I think you're right. I think it was a good idea to press them open as I go, because this would have been difficult to press open at this point. Ooh, yeah, whole Dresden plate quilt would be awfully pretty. This is kind of a Dresden plate almost. Well, it is, I suppose. Okay, first one. I'm gonna just try and get this edge this time. Oh, your inner circle was not quite big enough to cover the hole in the cookie. Oh, interesting. Interesting, Jenna. Well, that's like an easy update, I think, though. You only have to do that inner circle, though. Yeah, and each is a nice challenge for sure. And, you know, I think some of that comes from, you know, first of all, these are all done by different designers, right? But also, each designer is just making that one. So they're treating, when they're designing these blocks, they're treating it as a work of art on their own. You know what I mean? So that's why, like this block, for example, there's a lot. It's kind of an intense block, right? You got applique, you got this fun Dresden thing. There's a lot of pretty stuff happening. And same with the last block too. There was a lot of fun detail in that, with like the, you know, cutting it on the angle and all that. So each block, because the designer is, you know, they're trying to show, you know, they're trying to live up to being chosen to be a designer, you know what I mean? So they're gonna put out some cool work for us. All right, come on, dude. There we go. Oh, you just can't do those blocks with 30 or more blocks that are all the same. You know, I like the monotony of that sort of thing sometimes.
But I think for like, you know, in the evenings here, this is kind of a little bit more fun. All right, let's turn this into a circle. So I think now we'll sew one to another, and then we'll have to take it off of the machine, and then we'll have to sew another edge and take it off the machine, and then sew the last edge. But at that point, hopefully this turns into a circle. But how cute! I am just loving this little circle. I think it's just so sweet. All right. Sweet, sweet, cute, cute, cute. Ooh, I wiggled over a little bit on that one. All right, yeah, so this is one at a time. And I will, oh man, should I press these as I go? I think we're gonna just sew all these and then we'll press. Whoop, fill in the floor. Okay. All right. Ooh, I think I have a little thread stuck in there. Hopefully it figures itself out. Ah, my leader has, there we go, has little threads in the way. One little block at a time seems so inefficient. Yeah, it totally is. So this is not your typical quilt where you can you have one design and you crank out and you have a system while we're going. So you do all the ironing first and you do all this other stuff next and, you know, all the chain piecing. It is definitely not that type of quilt along. It's more about having a piece of art to make every single week and in theory, a bunch of techniques, different techniques, and some that you might need practice on, or some that you might not have done in a while, or some that you love. It's just it's about variety and learning and trying new things, I think. Definitely more so than, how should we do this? More so than a quilt that has all the same blocks in it. All right, this is weird. Okay, I think we're gonna press all of them to one side. All of my 3 little bits. So here's the next one. So let's press that one on the outside. I'm still trying to be rather delicate with this. Looks like a circle. All right, and one more that I didn't press yet. I think it's this one. Go this way. Trying to maneuver around here. Okay, and now I'll flip it and press them all open. Oh, Pam, you found new designers by with the Splendid Sampler 1. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's, you know, one of the goals of the Splendid Samplers, the 2 Splendid Samplers, are just you meet new designers and you see, like, I think there's such a value to learning how other people teach, you know, like they make half square triangles in this way, or they want you to press open for, you know, a certain reason, or, you know what I mean? Like there's opportunity to ask, well, why did they do that? And you get asked that over and over again with all these blocks. It's cute with them all pressed open. You almost want to have this be the front. It's like a little sunshine. All right, one more to press open. Come on, dude. There we go. Hey, Linda. Found me live. Okay, let's flip it over and try and make sure all those are still flat. And give it like another nice little press. Okay, I think we are looking swell. Okay. Oh, you found me through the Splendid Sampler 1. That's what you mean, Linda. That's awesome. I love it. Yes, thank you guys. So I did a block. I was one of the designers for the Splendid Sampler 1, and that's why that's how I got involved with this. Oh, cute! Oh, I like it. Oh, and this little guy will go in the center. Oh, it's so sunshiny. Like, it's just a glowing sunshine. I love it. Okay, so let's get this piece ready for applique. For this little special applique thing that I'm doing for the needle turn. Actual needle turn applique, you could just pin this to your piece right now. And hold on, let me grab a needle. For needle turn applique, what you would do at this pink is you would flip an edge under and you'd stitch, and then you keep flipping and you'd keep stitching. That's traditional needle turn applique. We're going to do this goofy trick where we pre-turn it all by sewing it in a circle onto this fusible bit. So we're going to do that again. I think I'm going to sew around this inner edge though, just to stabilize it. I'm afraid that if I start pulling on this, because we're going to turn it right side out, like a stuffed animal or something where you turn something right side out after sewing. And I'm going to turn it right side out through this hole. We have a built-in hole, but I'm afraid that I might start pulling out these stitches. So I'm going to just sew a circle really quickly around that inner edge. I don't think I can have this guy on here, just to kind of stabilize it. Let's see, what's the best way of doing that? I don't know, I guess we'll go this way with that 1/8 inch kind of marker. Okay, so I'm doing this now. I have enough space around there. Yeah, we'll totally cover this up. I'm just going to back tack this. I'm literally just doing this now so these inner bits don't start falling apart on me if I pull on them. So we're just stabilizing this. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to sew around this edge. These are all going to be covered up by my applique, so I'm not worried. But after spending all that time sewing these little wedges, I don't want them to fall apart on me. Because we didn't start and end each row by back tacking, we just sewed, and I don't know, some machines do a really good job at keeping that all sturdy, but you know, mine does not do that well. I need to stabilize it. I got my leader hanging out on here yet. And hopefully my seams are all still flat. I don't think I was paying attention to make sure they're still flat, but oh well, if they're not, it's not going to be the end of the world either. All right, we're around. Just back tack it a little there. Okay. Come on, I don't want to pull you too much. There we go. Okay, so now this inner edge should be stabilized a little bit. Like if I pull on it, it's not going to fall apart now because I've sewn around that inner edge. Okay, let's do the fun bit now. We're going to do this trick to making it be needle turn, but pre-turning it all by doing this circle. This technique works especially well for circles because sometimes circles can be tricky for being accurate with needle turn applique. So this helps you get like a really nice circular edge too. So here's that Pellin. It's that fusible shear weight. This is really old. They've renamed it since then, but it still has the pink packaging, and this is the style number, PLF36. I do have a link for it if you want a quick link to this product. And you know, needle turn applique, you don't need all this product, but again, I'm just showing you a fun, goofy way of doing this. Okay, so it has these little glue beads on one side. You can feel it. You can feel the texture on it. And then the other side is just nothing. It just feels flat like fabric. So we want the beads. We're going to put these right sides together, and we want the beads on the inside. So here's the beaded edge, and we're putting the right side of this next to it. So I'm just going to roughly cut this. It doesn't need to be perfect. In theory, it should be like the same size as the other outer edge, but where it doesn't matter. We're going to cut it anyway. We're going to trim it, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Just actually going to cut off the edge there like that. we'll go like this just because. All right, so we got our 2 pieces. So again, glue dots are the right side, and it's against the right side of our little circle here. And you know what? I think just to make sure this circle stays real nice and doesn't start bunching up, I think we're going to get the Wonder Clips out. You can use pins. I love these Wonder Clips. I'm just going to put a few around just to make sure I'm keeping flat when I sew this. Now here's how we're going to get this perfect circle. We're going to sew all the way around this edge, and we're not even going to leave a hole. We're going to sew the entire circle. And that's kind of the fun of this. This is how we're going to get our perfect, our perfect needle turn, pre-needle turn circle. All right, there. Hopefully that keeps it flat. I will start stitching somewheres around there. All right, now if you noticed, when we did this wedge, it had a 1/4 inch seam allowance on this top edge, which is perfect. We are going to use that to our advantage with this technique. I'm going to just follow my edge here, and I'm just going to I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch in from the edge, which is exactly what we were supposed to do with these. So I'm just going to go that 1/4 inch in all the way around, just like normal sewing. And I'm just going to try and keep this really flat, and we'll sew. I'm going to try and, I'll start and stop so I can turn gradually. I want a perfectly sewn circle here. So, all right, let's get down here. And I'm going to start with back tacking it too, just to kind of, back tacking is just stitching like a stitch or 2 forward and then hitting reverse and doing a stitch or 2 backwards and then going forward again. It keeps it's like tying a knot almost. So it'll keep it from fraying. And I usually don't do that when I'm just piecing. Like I didn't do that when I was just piecing these together, but that's mostly because I'm going to be sewing across it again. All right, so I'm going to keep my hand and back so I can keep lifting the presser foot just a little. So I can keep rotating, remove these dudes as we go. And if it wants to pop up on me, I'm just going to get my stiletto in there. My pointy extra finger, that's what my stiletto is. Just trying to follow that 1/4 inch mark all the way around and keep it flat. Pop that guy up. And I'm taking my time because, again, I want this to be that nice, pretty circle. Well, if you don't sew it, perfectly, you're going to have room, again, once you needle turn, once you actually stitch it to your background, you'll have leeway to, like, pull out an edge or tuck in an edge a little bit. So if you didn't sew it perfectly and you have, like, a little point that you want to push in, you do have that opportunity when you needle turn. This is just kind of prepping the plate for us. Do you keep the edge of the foot? Yeah, I'm just kind of keeping the edge. I have a 1/4 inch foot on, so I'm just kind of keeping it on the edge a little bit. I think I'm probably making it a little bit more than a 1/4 inch by doing that, which I don't know. Because in theory, I should be going a 1/4 inch from my needle. So I'm probably making a little bit bigger than I should, but I don't think it's going to matter. So my plate might be just a hair smaller. But I think, in general, I think we'll be okay. We're about halfway around this guy. So it's wanting to kind of move a little bit. Let's see if I can kind of keep it flat. Trying to be careful to keep it as flat as I can. All right, almost there. One more third, I think. Oh, I'm so excited about how sunshiny this is going to be. I am doing the seam allowance. So the seam allowance was built into the wedge. See, a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So it was already built in. I didn't have to add extra. It was built into the pattern. It was not built into the circle, the middle circle, but it was built into these wedges. All right, I think we're back around. Let's put a little back tack there. All right, we are sewn. I'm gonna just trim these bits a little shorter. All right, so now you can see I've sewn completely around the circle. I have not left a hole to turn it right side out or anything, but that's because I can turn it right side out through this hole. And if you didn't watch last night, last night's circle does not have a hole in the middle like this one does, but you can just snip a little circle or just tear it. You can tear a little circle in your little interfacing, your glue dot interfacing stuff, and turn it right side out there. I don't have to do that this time because I got a built-in circle right here. I am going to, we want to cut notches out of our seam allowance again. Notches are just like little triangles, and that's so that when we turn it right side out, they squish together, and it'll reduce some of the bulk from turning this right side out. So I like using a pinking shears. I think it's a super fast way of cutting notches, reducing some of that bulk. So I'm just going to cut around the edge near my seam allowance, or near my sewing line. We're just going to cut all the way around. Cutting notches like this is going to make the whole piece lay much flatter. Which I suppose in normal needle turn, you might not cut a bunch of notches out like this, but you're being more mindful and as you go and slower as you go to make sure that the fabric is pushed out of the way, I suppose. We're doing a little quick version. I'm getting a little close to the edge there. Oh, I think I've seen something like that, Nolene. So Nolene says, I saw a tutorial where the extension table had a small holes to the left of the needle, and then you put like a pin in there, and then you just sew, and it'll do a perfect circle every time. That's kind of fancy, because it's just pivoting, so it can't go anywhere. It has to pivot. Makes sense. Okay, so we have our circle. We've done the pinking shears. Now we're going to turn it right side out. And I'm just going to go right through that hole. And we remember we secured the edge of that hole with a seam. So, a little bit of pulling on it and stuff isn't going to hurt it too much. But, again, be as gentle as you can still. So I like having you can use a knitting needle or whatever, but I like just my mechanical pencil here. I just push the lead out, and then I use this nubbin. You want to really push against the seam. Get that nice seam all the way around this. Turning it right side out. Oh, you were thinking of getting a pinking blade for the rotary cutter. I have never actually, I know exactly what you're talking about, Pam. I've not used a fancy rotary cutter like with a different type blade, like with a pinking shears, or you can get like wavy line ones and stuff. I've never done that before. But all right, you guys, so you can see kind of what we've done here. We've turned it right side out, and I'm trying to push the edges out as much as I can. It's not going to matter too much because remember, we are going to still stitch this down, so I'll have opportunity to grab and pick at this a little bit. But look how nice our circle looks. It is pre-needle turned, basically, because we've already hidden the edge, so the edge is all pretty, and it is like a perfect circle, which is sometimes difficult to do with needle turn. So really, all we have to do now is, and we'll get this far tonight, we probably won't start stitching tonight, so we'll have to do a pick-up date at some point. But now all we have to do, since we turned it right side out, now our little glue dots are on the outside. which is great. So we just have to place this where we want. I think I'll do them one at a time. So I think I'll press this one down, and then I think I'll place this and press it on top. But let's go to the pressing mat here. And all right, let's try and match this up how they, oh look, I thought I was gonna cover up all my ducks, but the duck head and little duck body is still out there, so that's kind of fun. All right, I'm just kind of aligning it. It looks like she's aligned the vertical and horizontal seams. So trying to get, you know, on our seams there and our seams there to kind of line it up to center it. That's a good way to center it. And so this is just this glue, or this this stabilizer, this interfacing is just kind of to temporarily hold this in place. Like I said, we will pull out these little edges and stitch them down a lot better. So I just want to, let's just see how this goes. You know what? I'm just going to go all in. Let's go right on top. So remember also, you know, I'm using a really old version of this, so I don't know how well it's going to actually stick. Hopefully it's okay. All I need to do is to temporarily stick it. Actually, I don't need it to stick at all, really. It's just to get that really nice circle. And actually, now that I think of it, I think I am going to put a little dab of, I think this is glue. Yeah, I'm going to put a little dab of glue on the edges just to hold it down a little bit more. Just because, like I said, this stuff is pretty old. This is just extra insurance to hold this in place while I stitch. And actually, it's holding. It seems to be holding. It's not holding very good on the edge, but I can tell that it's holding there. All right, I'm going to just quickly with the pencil go around this edge again for the circle. Get it nice and circular, and you know what? Let's put some dabs of glue, kind of where the seam allowance would be. Okay, now let's place this guy right in the middle. But man, that's a good looking circle. All right, let's try and get right above. This might get nudged here and there as I stitch, but let's try and get it. That's looking all right. Let's do it. Squish. Okay, so that with the glue and with that that interfacing, this should hold now for us. So let's get back over here quick so I can get a little closer to you guys. Okay, so that is kind of it for this part of it. Next up, I'm going to stitch this down. And you know what? We have like 2 more minutes. Maybe I will just get started just to show you guys. We'll go just a hair over, but then I can show you a little bit. So you can kind of see I have some maybe a little point that's sticking out. You can maybe see a little bit of the edge of that interfacing there. Once we stitch it down, we will be able to control for all that, like right here too. So let's get some thread. I'm going to just use that same thread, and I'm not going to use too much. I'm just going to use like, I don't know, 18 inches or so. I'll just show you quickly how to do that kind of needle turn stitch. I know it's a totally quick process compared to normal needle turn, and you know what? We are going to get the exact same effect as if we did this like purebred needle turn, because it's still going to float on top, kind of how needle turn does. It just kind of floats on the surface because it's just attached by the edge. But here, let's just start here. I'm going to come up from the back, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of the front fabric. I'm not going to grab the, oops, sorry guys, let's get higher. I'm not going to grab that interfacing, just that front fabric. I'm going to go around again from the back fabric to the front fabric just to lock in that first stitch. And now I'm just going to go around the edge. So, all right, right now I'm coming out that front fabric. There you can kind of see I'm coming out the front. I'm going to go directly across the back fabric. All right, and I'm going to come up, oops, I'm going to come up, I think I might have the wrong needle. This is kind of a thick needle. I'm going to come up a stitch length away in the back fabric, but I'm going to catch the front fabric again. Just like 2 tiny little threads there. And that's going to be our first stitch. So there we go. Our first needle turn stitch. So now again, we're going to go directly across into the back fabric again. Go a stitch length away, come up through the back fabric and catch that front fabric again. And you can see, I can see my interfacing there. I am making sure to grab only the front fabric and kind of pull it over that interfacing because I don't want to see that interfacing when I'm done. I just want to see my cute little front fabric and little stitches. So there, grab the front again, and we're just going to go around the whole entire circle this way. There we go. So here's that first little edge. I just did like 4 stitches or so there. And that little bit, I mean, that's looking like needle turn there. So you can see it's flattened. It's right up against the fabric now. It's not gonna float off like this anymore. It will all be attached all the way around. And then once I'm done doing, I'm gonna do this outside first, and then I will go and do this inside. When I do the inside though, I'm gonna try and just grab this this middle fabric. I'm gonna try and avoid the back fabric. But yeah, I think we're good to go. So I will get this up on YouTube, but I will come back. I will continue stitching this live on here with you guys, so we can go through the whole entire process. I'm not sure when that'll be yet, because I'm only doing this on Thursdays and Fridays, so we weren't able to get this one done in 2 days, which I kind of expected. This was a kind of intricate one. But we will come back. If I pop in live on Saturday or pop in live some other random day, we'll be finishing this up. So I'm going to turn you guys around and we will call it an evening. Hello, hello. So I am stoked with this one. Yeah, Pam, this is definitely a fast way to do kind of needle turn. It's still needle turn. We've just kind of pre-turned it for us, but look how nice of a circle that is. I'm not sure I centered that very well now that I look at it again, but that's okay. It's so sunshiny. I love it. So, all right, and then you can see how big it is. Like, it's actually a pretty small little sunshine piece and small inside piece. But yeah, so we will come back and keep stitching on it. But, you know, just I showed you how to stitch those first few stitches. Just keep going. You just go around the whole edge, that same type of stitching. And then it's done. After you're done stitching, your piece is secure and it's on there. And, oh, you know what? There is one more step. Then trim your block to the 6.5 inches as well. Remember, we did ours a little bit bigger, just so we could trim it down. You might find when you do the applique, it'll kind of pull the back in a little just from doing all those little stitches. That's why we made a bigger back than what was suggested in the pattern. So we have room for it to shrink, room for it to like scrunch up, and then we can still cut it. But I love it! Block number 2 done, guys. Well, close. So thanks again for joining me. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. This will go up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies. I will have every block of the Splendid Sampler there in their entirety, and I am organizing them by block this year. So if you guys go to the Penguin and Fish Movies page and scroll down, you'll see the Splendid Sampler 2. And underneath there, there'll be little chunks of videos, and those will be organized by block. So just look for the name of the block or the designer. I have not labeled them as block 1, block 2, block 3. I'm not doing that this year. It'll just be labeled by the designer and the block. So awesome, guys. Thank you again, and have a fabulous weekend. I will see you again on Monday. We will be free motion quilting again on the Charming Chevrons quilt. So see you then. Good night.